Hey everybody, today is October 10th. It's Tuesday and mid-afternoon, and we're just excited to introduce these puppies to you. Miss Breezy is doing a fabulous job of attending to them, and she is tuckered out. So, as you can see, this process of getting these pups here and taking care of them releases hormones in these otherwise very active dogs, and they love to just turn into couch potatoes. So they become 24/7 cafeteria. They know it, and their pups appreciate it. That mama just wants to eat, drink, and sleep. So for these next few weeks, Breezy is just gonna be taking it easy. So anyways, we're super excited to present these pups to you. We were very surprised when we had 7 boys arrive and 1 girl. So we have our Princess and Pink down here in the end, and I'm not gonna disturb them right now. So Breezy's mammary glands have been supplying colostrum up to this point. These pups are officially about, the oldest ones are about 48 hours old right now. So they started arriving Sunday, October 8th, mid-afternoon. So we were very pleasantly surprised to have a daytime delivery. Most of the time when pups arrive, they're in the wee hours of the night. Talking like they're usually born between midnight and 7 a.m. So Mama has been supplying the colostrum, and her milk is just starting to come in. In fact, she has a gland over here that is leaking milk right now. Can you see it? Can you see it building up? Right there. Can you see that? So she actually has a gland that's very close to the surface, and these pups have pawed her enough that she's actually leaking milk out the side. So we're excited that the milk is coming in. These boys are very healthy for their age and size. Miss Princess and Pink is actually abnormally small. So we usually don't have what I would consider a runt. Usually we have kind of average sized pups, and small on the normal side and large on the normal side. These pups are average to large for the boys, and honestly, I don't think we've had a pup as small as Miss Pink before. So we're gonna introduce them to you and show you them side by side. We've got a few that are buried in here in the cafeteria, but we've got gray, blue, red, then we've got yellow, green, brown, orange, and then Miss Pink. So I'm going to start off with Miss Pink and introduce her to you. I'm going to let her finish drinking a little bit, let her fill up that belly, because she needs it. So far we have not supplemental fed her. That is an option, but if we were to do that, then she would have less desire to nurse as heavy as she otherwise would have, and would have been more content. So we have allowed her to kind of struggle a little bit. She's got good energy. She's always maintained good energy, but obviously she's not as big as her brothers. So it's been more of a work uphill climb for her to get the colostrum to let down and whatnot, but we wanted her to get all the colostrum possible and use all of her energy in getting colostrum, because that is one of the most critical components of a puppy's long-term health, is that colostrum. They get a lot of their immune system, they get a lot of their digestive system from colostrum, and there's just a whole host of reasons why, if it's at all possible, to not supplemental feed a puppy if you don't absolutely have to. And so we've been monitoring her very closely and keeping an eye on her, making sure she had good energy. Because as long as she had good energy, then we knew she would get enough. It may not have been a lot, but been enough to get as much colostrum as possible. So she has just done really well, actually exceeded my expectations, and has maintained her energy levels and her willingness to nurse. She was actually the first one born, and she right off the bat took to nursing and has never looked back. So sometimes it takes young or small pups to figure out how to nurse, and she figured it out very quickly and was able to get the colostrum right off the bat. And so we knew that as long as she maintained her energy level and could nurse, that she knew how to nurse, and so she's been doing pretty good. And so as you can see, the milk's coming in now, and she's getting a round tummy right here, so we know she's getting the job done when she goes to the cafeteria and wants to get a bite to eat. So anyways, it was exciting to have a daytime delivery. Breezy did wonderful during that process. She never struggled a bit with any of these pups, and they're just all healthy and well. And so besides Miss Pink being a little bit on, not a little bit, she's really on the small side. You know, everything has gone just as we expected. So her size was a little bit unexpected. To give you, if you can't see already, she has a very dark color, and then we have some of the other boys that are a little lighter in color. Mr. Blue, I should say. Mr. Blue is, I believe, the lightest out of the boys. And in a second, he has finished nursing. You can see his muzzle up there, pulled off to the side. I'll see if I can get these pups to line up back to back to back. Their side bellies always look a little bit lighter, and so if I can get their back to you, then you can see kind of an overall coat color difference between them. But we've got Mr. Blue. He's a little bit on the light side, not abnormally light. This is all the normal spectrum of Vizsla colors, and this Pink being on the darker side of the normal spectrum for the colors, and then Mr. Blue being on the lighter side. But the other boys are pretty close overall colors. I would say Mr. Yellow may be a shade darker than the others. We've got Mr. Gray trying to use his brothers as a pillow here. So Mr. Gray, he's on the average side for overall colors. And so now that these guys are done, they're gonna wiggle out and find a comfy spot where they're not too warm, huddled in with everybody else. So I'm gonna show you Miss Pink next. She has just about finished nursing. I don't know if you can see that. She has a little bit of a milk mustache going on. That's very cute. And so I'm gonna see if I can get the camera position such that we can give you a good up close look at all these pups and their differences. There's just some very slight differences from one pup to the other, and maybe I'm going to start with the boys. I'm going to let Miss Pink stay there just as long as she cares to, even if it takes us a little bit. So once she completely pulls away and takes a break, then I'll introduce her in a second. So we're going to start with Mr. Blue. This is in no particular order. We just have our list of notes about the pups so we can track them over time and make any observations about their personalities and such with that. So This is in no particular order, but we're going to start with Mr. Blue. As of today, he was 0.99 pounds. And I'm going to see if I can get a good look at him. Oh, look at that tongue poking out. He was 0.99 pounds. He has a very slight mark on his neck, and I mean super slight. Like, if you don't know what you're looking for, you may not see it, but it's right there, and it may not be very obvious with his adult coat. It's so slight. He does have that little tiny couple grouping of light hairs. He does have a little mark on his chest and a slight mark off to the side there, perhaps some lighter hairs. So that's Mr. Blue. He's 0.99 pounds as of today. Very slight neck marking and a very slight chest mark. So next we've got Mr. Red, and I think he dove in for some food and then fell asleep. So I'm going to pull out Mr. Red. So he is the smallest out of the boys at 0.81 pounds, and he has a marking on his neck, and I'll see if I can gently roll him over with his brothers here. So he's got kind of a mark across the crease in his neck. If I can, there you go, if you can see that. So that marking is going to be more visible. It will be very hidden near his collar area, but you'll be able to see that with his adult coat for sure. And then he has a really fun chest marking. It's kind of like a number 7 on his chest. So he was the 3rd boy born, and I remembered that because he was the 3rd one, and he had the mark number 7 on his chest, and I just thought he could be a fun little sports jersey puppy with his number 7. Anyways, so if somebody's into sports and has a favorite player that's number 7, Mr. Red, he's kind of fun that way. Anyways, so he had that chest marking on there, and then he's got his back left toe. He's got some very lightly colored back left toes. And let me see if I can get that. Can you see that right there? So very lightly marked back left toe. And the back right toes are probably less marked, but also slightly marked as well. So it's typical for Vizslas to have those toes marked and then chest markings. So it's not uncommon to see those. Oh, I should mention that today we were into the vet's office. So the pups had their tails and dew claws done. So like Mr. Gray, you can actually see the scab on his foot and a little bit of dried blood from that process. And so you'll notice that their tails have the little scab. They're docked per AKC recommendations and club breed standards with the AKC. So we have tails docked about 1/3 and dew claws removed for their overall well-being when they're out in the field and running through brush. They don't shear off that dew claw, which actually sticks out like a thumb, and so it's very subject to injury out in the field. So when you're out hiking and going through brush and your dog comes back with no injuries, you can be glad that that dew claw was removed at this age. So anyways, that's Mr. Red. He was 0.81 pounds and slightly marked pup. And then we have Mr. Green, and he is one of the bigger pups. So he is 1.05 pounds as of today. He has, I chose the color of green for him because he's one of the bigger pups. Has a good sized neck and just a thick puppy. He just looks thick. And I thought, man, he's going to be a tank. Maybe I'm assuming too much too soon about him, but I thought green is the fitting color for him because he could be a tank. He could be a big boy as he grows. We'll have to see if he holds that trajectory and maintains that size. But Mr. Green, he has a very light dot on his neck, and I'll see if I can get close for that. If you can see that there, let's see if I can. So it's right at my thumb tip right there. So it's a very slight mark on his neck. He has a little dot there, and then on his chest marking is smaller than his neck, and his neck's marking is small. So his chest marking is very, very slight. So he does have a few. Oh, we got the other dogs barking in the house. The kids are home from the library, and the dogs are greeting them. So, anyways, we've got a few light groin hairs around his groin, and then we've got maybe a back right marked toe. So maybe there's going to be a few light hairs on that back right toe, but it's yet to be determined. That it's a very lightly colored back right toe. If that manifests later, I wouldn't be surprised if it does not manifest later, but we try to pay close attention now, because as their puppy coat comes in, this is their newborn coat, as their puppy coat comes in, it's actually thinner than this. So as I'll use Mr. Blue as an example, as you can see, he's got a good thick covering of hair on his belly right now, and that kind of goes away in their puppy coat. So they have a kind of a thicker, more full coat when they're a newborn, and then as they get bigger, their puppy coat changes and it's a little thinner and longer. But as their adult coat comes in, then some of these markings become more manifest again. A lot of these markings will not be evident during their puppy coat at age 5 weeks old during the selection process. So we like to mention them now because you can see them better now than we might perhaps be able to see a few weeks from now when they're old enough to be selected. So that's Mr. Green, 1.05 pounds and very lightly marked pup. And then we've got Mr. Yellow. He's actually the biggest out of the bunch. He's 1.1 pounds, so he happens to be just slightly bigger than Green, and he's just a big boy. So he's also large. He's got the little slightly darker coat to him, and on his neck he has a more pronounced mark on his neck. If I can get him to hold still. He was trying to go snuggle with his brothers. Oh, there we go, right there. Do you see that double mark on his neck? So that's under the collar area on his neck, kind of in the crease of his neck and his head. So very fun little mark there, kind of unique to have that double mark on his neck. And then he's got a more pronounced chest marking than some of the others. It's more noticeable, so fun there. And then his groin is very lightly, he's just got just a handful of light colored hairs in his groin. And so far on his back left and back right toes, we're not really seeing any markings on that right now. So that's Mr. Yellow at 1.1 pounds and also lightly marked pup. Next we've got Mr. Brown, and he is here at my toes. So Mr. Brown, he is 0.85 pounds. So he is not the smallest out of the boys, but second on that list on the small side. So he's definitely not like abnormally small. So red and orange are totally average sized pups for this size of a litter at this age. So I would say yellow and green are above average for this age and this size of a litter. So Mr. Brown at 0.85 pounds, while he may be second to smallest, is not a small pup. He is right there on the average side of things. So he has a very, very slight chest marking. We're not seeing anything on his neck area, and you have to try really hard to see just a handful of couple of hairs on his chest. And so he does have a few hairs down in the groin area that are lightly colored, and then he has a very lightly marked back left and back right toes. So let me see if I can get a good angle on those. There you go. So his back left toe has more light colored hairs than his back right, but there's just a few light colored hairs on his back right. So that's Mr. Brown at 0.85 pounds, and then Mr. Orange is at 0.88 pounds, and so he is third on the list on the small side of things, so he's right there in the middle of the boys overall size wise. And so his neck, he has a very, very slight neck dot there, if you can see that. And then he has a very light, he's clear on his chest from what we can see right now. So there's a little bit of the cowlick there. Sometimes that will hide some light colored hairs, but I'm not seeing any right now. So he does have a few marked hairs around his groin area, and then he's got some heavily marked back toes. So his toes are one of the more marked ones, so he'll have some stocking toes. It'll be fun to watch him run it like the wind as he gets a little bit older. So that's Mr. Orange at 0.88 pounds. And next we've got Mr. Gray. Where did he crawl off to? He's kind of behind my foot. We're just here in our puppy room, our labor and delivery room and puppy room, and we've got our whelping box here, and he has crawled out away under this edge, and let me reach back and pull him out. So Mr. Gray, here we go. So last but not least of the boys, we've got Mr. Gray. He's 0.97 pounds, so he's on the bigger side of average for the boys, but he's third amongst his brothers in the size ranking. He has a clear neck from what we can see, and he's got just a chest dot. It's not super pronounced, not very big, but you can easily distinguish that as you kind of comb through the cowlick on the hair on his chest. So he's got a few more marked groin hairs than some of his brothers, and then he's got a heavily marked set of back left toes like his brother Orange, and slightly marked set of back right toes like his brother Orange. So Mr. Orange and Mr. Gray have very close set of toe markings. So they have all climbed in and made themselves each other's pillows. And last but not least, we will get to our princess in pink here. She is 0.35 pounds. She finished her dinner. You can see she's got a nice full round tummy. So she did really well with nursing. And we're excited to see that milk coming in. That's really going to help her get caught up with some growth rates. So at 0.35 pounds, she is half the size of what an average pup would be for this age and this litter size. With large litters, we see overall sizes go down. You know, there's just kind of the amount of food spread between more pups makes smaller pups on large litters. And the size of 8 for a litter is pretty average for us. A lot of breeders average is smaller than 8 on the number of pups they have per litter, but at 8 it's pretty average for us, and we oftentimes have more. Sorry if you can hear my kids in the background. They don't know I'm in here making a video. They just got back from the library and they're kind of being noisy out there. In some ways it's kind of good if you hear the video game in the background and you hear the kids being loud. These pups are raised in our home. Like, they are going to be accustomed to house noises, vacuums, blenders, loud movies. Our family room and kitchen is right on the other side of this puppy room wall. And so just right out this door, I mean, it makes it super convenient for us to keep an eye on these pups. Basically 24/7 is we can just poke our head through the door and check on the pups all the time throughout the day, because we're right there and everything's good. But sorry if my kids in the background are being noisy and that's a distraction, but in some ways that's just an example of what we feel like is a good thing, that these pups are raised in our home right by us and with us, and they're going to be accustomed to home life with your family with the good start that we give them here. So Miss Pink, I'm going to roll her over at 0.35 pounds. She is a tiny one. But honestly, I can't really see any markings on her chest or neck. If I hold her up, I don't really see anything there. I see some creases in her fur that are lighter, but I don't see the light hairs. I do see some marked hairs around her groin there, but I don't see any markings on her chest or neck. And then I do note that she's got some lighter colored toes on the back left and back right feet. And as you can see, she is very lively and wants to move around a lot. She's not holding still for me to show you her toes, but she's got some back left and back right marked toes. So otherwise a solid pup, besides the markings down on her groin and her toes. She doesn't have a chest or collar area, neck area marking. So anyways, these pups are just doing great. We hope you've enjoyed this introductory video. Breezy is doing a fabulous job of attending to these pups. She is very attentive to them. She wants them by her, kept close to her, and is not aggressively protective, but if one gets away from her and whatnot, she lets us know. Like, she's notifying us, and she'll start whimpering if she can't get one back to her, if they kind of wander off outside of this whelp, or to the edge of the whelping area and can't seem to find their way back. Right now the pups are dependent on their sense of smell and the tactile sensation on the end of their nose for figuring out where mama is. So they actually have a very highly developed sense of smell at this age, and so they're looking for that scent of milk, and they're looking for this the skin on the teat. That is an indicator to them that they're getting close for the cafeteria delivery area for the milk to them. So they use their muzzle, their end of their nose, to really figure out where mama is. And if they get too far away and they can't figure out where mama is and kind of keep going in circles and circles, then Breezy can let us know and we can get them back to heading the right direction if she hasn't got them by then herself. So she's doing great. These pups are doing great. We're gonna keep a close eye on Miss Pink here. So far, obviously her size is something that gives us cause for extra attention, but other than her being small, she hasn't given us any reason for long-term concern with her overall health. She's been very lively and willing to nurse, and we come in here regularly to just check on her specifically, and half the time that we come in she is already nursing, and the other half of the time, if she's not nursing, we'll give her an extra turn at the cafeteria and just bring her to mama ourselves by hand and get her nursing. But now that the milk is in, she'll kind of control more about when she wants to nurse, because you don't want a pup to overfeed. They can overdo it, and that ends up being bad because they kind of regurgitate the milk if they get too much and can aspirate that and have problems. So we'll just kind of keep an eye on her and keep these brothers considerate of their sister, and keep you guys updated throughout the next few weeks as these pups grow up. We'll do videos about weekly or every 10 days. For the next 2 weeks solid, these pups are going to be pretty consistently like this. They're going to be not super mobile and very interested in looking for mama and eating, and then immediately falling asleep. So until their eyes open and their ears become unsealed, they're not too interested in getting out and exploring the world, because they can't see it really, and they can only hear very limited amounts with their ears being as sealed as they are. But their noses work good, and that's how they figure out how to get to mama. And so it's just our job to make sure their environment is clean and sanitary and warm and inviting and comfortable for Breezy, so she's not stressed about anything. And these pups just get everything that they need to get off to a good start in life. So thanks for watching this video, and we'll keep you posted on the next ones. Until then, talk to you later.